Hey y'all, here's my presentation. It's about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and the value of a good game soundtrack. I'm just going to start with some general information. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a 2017 open-world action-adventure game published by Nintendo. Universally acclaimed, this game has won several Game of the Year awards, as well as being referred to as one of the greatest games of all time. It is directed by Hidemaru Fujibayashi, produced by Eiji Aonuma. Lead artists are Takumi Wada and Satoru Takizawa. Composers are Manaka Kataoka, Yasuaki Iwata, and Hajime Wakai. Here are some important things you should know for this presentation to make sense. The protagonist is Link, a Hylian who is controlled by the player. He has amnesia and has been asleep for 100 years. 100 years ago, a tragedy known as the Great Calamity happened. This decimated the Kingdom of Hyrule, which the entire game takes place within. The 5 races of Hyrule are the Hylians, the Zora, the Gorons, the Rito, and the Gerudo, who are pretty much elves, fish, rocks, birds, and 8-foot-tall women. The main villain of this game is known as Calamity Ganon, a reincarnation of a being of darkness that has appeared multiple times throughout Hyrule's history. Ganon caused the Great Calamity. Environment. When traveling between the remaining civilizations of Hyrule, the player is often traveling through vast and wild land, void of almost all human influence. Music plays throughout the player's entire journey, and the music changes depending on climate and location. Certain themes also change depending on the time of day. In all of these tracks, long rests and sparsely placed, drawn-out notes create a sense of emptiness and solitude throughout the journey. Environmental tracks include Field Day, Field Night, Highland, Waterside, Cave, Ruins, Field Scorching Climate, Field Freezing Climate, Field Heat, and several more with similarly titled, self-explanatory names. Kakariko Village. Kakariko Village is home to a group of Hylians called the Sheikah. The Sheikah are responsible for anything that is technologically advanced within this game, but are a very traditional society rooted in the entirety of Hyrule's past. Composed by Hajime Wakai, the 2 tracks for Kakariko Village are based on traditional Japanese court music. Almost all of the instruments in these pieces are Japanese. This includes the taiko drums, the hyoshigi, the shakuhachi, the hachiku, the 21-string koto, which is the national instrument of Japan, and the kokyu. The differences in the motifs is insignificant between the day and night tracks. In fact, the only differences are the grace notes, which are non-essential embellishment notes in the day version, and the instrumentation. The day theme is led by the shakuhachi, and the night theme is played by the hachiku. This theme is pretty cool to look at, because it's not in a standard scale, like a major scale or a minor scale. It's actually composed in the E minor pentatonic scale. Zora's Domain, home of the Zora, who are pretty much fish people. Zora's Domain is surrounded by several waterfalls and built elevated over water. Music in Zora's Domain isn't completely new and original. It is based on the track for Zora's Domain from a previous game in the Legend of Zelda franchise, Ocarina of Time. The original Ocarina of Time score was composed by Koji Kondo. The day theme was arranged by Yasuaki Iwata, and the night theme was arranged by Manaka Kataoka. Notable instruments in the day theme include the piano, the steel pan drums, and the guitar. With some extra sounds from chimes and sleigh bells, the entire theme embodies the elegant aquatic atmosphere of Zora's Domain. Notable instruments in the night theme include the piano and the harp. When you look at the opening bars of the Breath of the Wild Zora's Domain day theme, and then look at the Ocarina of Time version, they are exactly the same, other than the instruments and the accidentals, with the exception of the second measure. Goron City. Goron City is home of the Gorons, which are pretty much rocks. Goron City is located up on Death Mountain, which is a literal volcano. Once again, the music of Goron City is inspired by that of previous games in the franchise. It has instrumental similarities to Ocarina of Time's Goron City and Twilight Princess's Death Mountain. The Breath of the Wild Goron City day theme was composed by Yasuaki Iwata, and the night theme was composed by Manaka Kataoka. Both of the Breath of the Wild tracks, as well as those from Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, all have the same opening motif, but the Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess themes depart from the Breath of the Wild themes quite quickly after that. I had a hard time finding unarranged sheet music that reflects this similarity, but I have played both of these games as well, and I know it's there. Notable Goron City day theme instruments include the marimba, the trombone, and the tuba. This theme has a faster tempo than the night theme, implying increased activity and energy. Notable night theme instruments include the bass, the marimba again, but the piano replaces the trombone. This, along with a slower tempo, creates a far more low-energy piece. Both of these pieces are in 4/4 time and include some fun percussion sounds, like the congas, chime bells, and cymbals. Rito Village, home of the Rito, who are bird people. Lots of them sing, they are birds after all. A notable Rito is the bard Cass, who you will encounter many times throughout Hyrule. Cass plays enough different songs and has enough music-related stuff that I could make a whole slide about him, but I won't be doing that. I don't want to have to explain 50% of the game's plot. The Rito Village themes are based on the track Dragon Roost Island from a previous game in the franchise, The Wind Waker. Dragon Roost Island was composed by Kenta Nagata, according to Spotify, but I have seen other sources say it was Koji Kondo. However, both of them are credited as composers for the Wind Waker OST, so it is entirely possible that it was both of them. The day theme for Breath of the Wild was arranged by Yasuaki Iwata, and all three of the Breath of the Wild composers, Manaka Kataoka, Yasuaki Iwata, and Hajime Wakai, are credited on the night version of the Rito Village Notable instruments in the day theme include the clarinet, the classical guitar, and the mandolin. Notable instruments in the night theme are the clarinet, the classical guitar, and the piano to replace the mandolin. The day theme and the night theme are directly transposed. The day theme is played in B-flat major, and the night theme is played in A-sharp major. Gerudo Town. Gerudo Town is home of the Gerudo. They are a race made up entirely of 8-foot-tall warrior women. I'm sure you now have some questions, but I will not be answering them. The Gerudo Town themes are not based on any music from a previous game in the franchise, even though the Gerudo and Gerudo Town have existed in previous titles. Part of me kinda wishes they were, because the Gerudo Valley theme from Ocarina of Time is a banger, but ultimately I think these themes are wonderful just the way they are. They really reflect the vibes of Gerudo Town. The day theme for Gerudo Town was composed by Manaka Kataoka, and for the night theme, all three of the soundtrack's composers are once again credited. The day theme includes instruments like the sitar, triangle, snare drum, wooden flutes, and the oboe. The night theme also has the sitar, but features synthesizers and the piano with a bit of the harp. Extra thing to note is that there is a debate between whether it is the sitar being played or the dulcimer being played. I'm not a music expert, so I didn't even know what the dulcimer was until I saw this debate. And after listening to both of them being played in hopes I could figure out which one it was, I still don't have any idea. One thing that really stands out about these themes is that the harmonies are different in each one. In the themes for other towns, the harmonies in the day and night themes are the same or very similar. Terry Town. Terry Town is originally just a plateau in the middle of a lake, but throughout the stages of the side quest from the ground up, the town is formed and grows with members of each race in Hyrule, and so does the music. This piece was composed by Manaka Kataoka and is in 4/4 time. Originally, there is only one person in Terry Town once you start the side quest. The Terry Town motif stays throughout the entire evolution of Terry Town and its music. Instruments in the Terry Town motif include the clarinet, the piano, and the congas. However, the original Terry Town theme has many bars of silence. These will eventually be filled as you progress through the side quest. The first step in the side quest is to invite a Goron to live in Terry Town. Once the Goron arrives in Terry Town, some of the staple Goron instruments are added to the Terry Town theme, and some of the empty space within the music is filled. The trombone and the vibraphone, which is a marimba but metal, are added to the music. The trombone is used in the Goron City Day track, as mentioned in the Goron City slide. The second step in the side quest is to invite a Gerudo to live in Terry Town. With her arrival, one of the staple Gerudo instruments, the dulcimer, or the sitar depending on what side of that argument you want to take, as well as an exact motif from the Gerudo Town music is added to some of the empty space in the Terry Town theme. The third step in the side quest is to invite a Rito to Terry Town. The Rito are represented by the clarinet, but the two new motifs added use higher notes to distinguish between the Rito motifs and the original Terry Town motifs. The fourth step in the side quest is to invite Azora to Terry Town. With the addition of Azora Villager, the Terry Town theme grows once again, and all the empty spaces that were in the theme are now filled. A staple Zora instrument, the guitar, as mentioned in the Zora's Domain slide, is added to the Terry Town music. The guitar in Zora's Domain theme uses a lot of arpeggiation, so it's only fitting that the Zora motif that gets added to Terry Town is arpeggiated as well. All of these steps have been completed, there is a celebration, for plot reasons, and a final addition is made to the Terry Town music. This addition is that of the bagpipes. Once again, there is an instrumental dispute between if it is the bagpipes or the Yulian pipes. The bagpipes come from the Hateno Village Day theme, which features the Yulian pipes, hence why the Yulian pipes are in the instrumental debate. Unfortunately, the Hateno Village slide was cut for time reasons. Hateno Village is a Hylian village, so with the addition of the bagpipes, a motif for the last Hyrule race is added to the Terry Town music. The new Hylian motif adds to and replaces the low clarinet part of the original Terry Town music. Stables. There are multiple stables all throughout Hyrule that serve as a small resting place during your journey, and gathering places for travelers from all over Hyrule. The stables piece was composed by Yasuaki Iwata. Instruments in the stables piece include the classical guitar, congas, tambourine, and the shinobu flute. However, the stables theme isn't entirely original. It contained the motif that has been present over and over again throughout the Legend of Zelda franchise. Epana's song first appears in Ocarina of Time. It is 6 notes that the player must play on the ocarina to call Link's horse Epana. The rest of the song plays after you play the first 6 notes. To call your horse in Breath of the Wild, the player can have Link whistle the last 5 notes of Epana's song, and if your horse is nearby, it will come running. Epana's song has been found in many tracks for locations that have to do with horses within the Legend of Zelda franchise, including Lon Lon Ranch from Ocarina of Time, Romani Ranch from Majora's Mask, and the stables theme from Breath of the Wild. Epana's song, Lon Lon Ranch, and Romani Ranch were all composed by Koji Kondo. Other themes that are great for various reasons, but I had to cut them for time purposes. The Hyrule Castle slide was massive due to it having multiple references from different Legend of Zelda games. It is a super complicated score, and it has a lot of different instruments, because it is performed by a full orchestra. The Divine Beasts slide contained information on how each Divine Beast had music similar to its respective champion. It also contained the timestamps of Morse code for SOS in each of the Divine Beast themes. SOS is in each Divine Beast theme for plot reasons. I will not elaborate further on this. The slide for the champion themes contained information on how each champion theme connected to the music of where they are from. Zora Champion Mipha's theme was connected to Zora's domain, Goron Champion Daruk's theme was connected to Goron City, Rito Champion Rivali's theme was connected to Rito Village, and Gerudo Champion Urbosa's theme was connected to Gerudo Town. The Temple of Time slide didn't quite have enough information once finished, so it got axed. It contained information on a reference to a track from a previous game in the franchise. I didn't even bother making a slide for Cass because it would have been massive, and I would have had to explain like half the game's plot. It would have been great though. Hateno Village was cut halfway through me making it because there wasn't enough stuff to talk about, but it has great music. Lurelin Village was again cut halfway through me making it because it's insignificant to the game's plot and there wasn't enough to talk about, but once again, great music. Korok Forest was cut because there was too much to talk about if I talked about all the music that goes along with it, but if I had only talked about the 2 main pieces, there would not have been enough to talk about. The riding horse themes were cut for the same reason the Temple of Time was cut, but I was about halfway through it this time when I decided to cut it. The dragon theme was the reason I made this slide in the first place, as it was originally the honorable mentions slide, and the dragon theme is just cool. I have all of the information for the Zelda's Lullaby slide, as it is easily the most important track in the entire franchise. It appears in pretty much every game. Breath of the Wild has its own arrangement of the piece, and the piece's main motif shows up in several tracks within the game. As you might be able to tell, this would have made a massive slide, and it would have been the last one, so it never happened for time reasons. If you are still interested in any of this information, ask me about it, and I can briefly dump a bunch of useful information on you. Or feel free to just play the game yourself. I highly encourage the second option.